Besides from social interactions and actually talking with people and actually making some kind of bonds and maybe relationships with people in the yard and in your actual unit itself, what is the rest of your time used up by? Because obviously this is a place where again there's so much structure and so much going on. Like, what is a day to day routine of how does your day start and kind of what happens throughout the day as you wake up and go about your daily
Another
routine?
another great question. Okay. Generally your day starts at 6 o'clock when they open at 6 a.m. where they open the compound, and the chow hall is open from 6 until 7. Usually you go back to your unit after that, or you go to recreational yard for a little bit, pending the fact that it's open, which in most yards on most prisons, they open it when they open the chow hall up at 6 a.m. So in case you don't want to go eat prior to you going to your job, which job call is 7:30, prior to you going there, you could go to recreation and work out there or do whatever you want. And it's very crucial to find your own structure that works best for you, and get a structure fast. And like you want to do your job in the morning, like if you're an orderly, a unit orderly, or there's another thing called CMS, which is construction and maintenance services, where a lot of guys go work that really have no job skills whatsoever, or if they know anything about plumbing, then they'll put you in the plumbing department. If you know anything about electrical, you go to electrical department, carpentry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's all different departments for everything in construction and maintenance. So there's a good chance you'll get assigned there if you can't get an orderly job, which a lot of people want an orderly job because, especially guys who have money coming in, because you don't really make anything. Like the most you get is I think 10 or 12 cents an hour is what they'll pay you. If you're the head orderly, then you make probably 25 cents an hour, which you can put towards your 401k plan, but not advisable.
Wow. And sorry to cut you off there, but this is pretty impactful stuff. So you're basically saying that there's occupations within prison that you're working for. The wages you just mentioned are slave wages. I mean, you said 12 cents, 20 cents an hour.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's just to work Unicorn. You work the kitchen. You work the laundry. You work the chapel. You work education. Yeah, they pay you slave beyond slave labor wages. You know what the great thing is years ago, there was a big uproar about us, or about I think Dodge or Plymouth, whatever. They were buying engine blocks from China at this time, and I believe it even made Time magazine. And they were talking about how wrong Dodge was, or Plymouth, whatever, for purchasing engine blocks that were made by prisoners in China, in China prisons for Dodge, and they
Really?
were being paid. They probably weren't even being paid at all. They're probably being paid a bowl of rice a day, which is something that's a premium in Chinese prisons. And so we're on them about doing it, but we're doing the same goddamn thing here. You're only getting paid 12 cents an hour, maybe 15 cents an hour on a great day, and then that's only if your boss, who generally it was the unit counselor who oversaw all the orderlies in the prison, and in construction and maintenance services they have foremen, and the kitchen you have the kitchen foreman, and so they have all these different foremen, and those are the people that are their COs, correctional officers, that are assigned to different roles in the different areas of the departments within the confines of the prison. But yeah, you're not gonna make any money if you go to prison and make money. You're out of your fucking mind. Although now they have something very interesting, and this is something, again, it's another show, but we'll talk about Unicorn Industries and we'll do a deep dive on them. And Unicorn is something that's a privately owned industry that employs people in the Bureau of Prisons, and they pay them just slightly above slave wages. And the the highest pay you could ever get in there is what they call a super grade, and that was $1.25 an hour or $1.20 an hour. Again, that all depended on the foreman and whoever was in charge of the particular Unicor you were working in. And Unicor is, like I said, is a privately owned company that has been in most prisons forever. And it's ridiculous. People don't have any idea like how many industries private industries that have had to go out of business because they can't compete with what Unicor can outbid anybody on, because their labor wages are next to nothing. So all you have to do is pay them for the correctional officers' time and primarily the materials that they're using to make whatever it is, from desks and chairs to blankets to you name it, uniforms for inmates. And there's not anything within Unicor's power that that they can't outbid anybody on. Any job that is coming out of the federal government has to be allowed to be bid on first by the Bureau of Prisons, aka Unicor, and they allow them to bid on the job, and which they'll smash anybody out there on prices, and the rest is history.
Who is actually financially gaining out of this? Hold on,
The people who profit most is the actual prison themselves. And I don't really, they get a cut out of it, but it's actually Unicor Industries. And one time that we know of, Unicor Industries, and maybe still to this day, although we have to do a deep dive into it, Unicor was owned by the Rockefeller Foundation. And they're the ones who set the place in motion. They're the ones who have established it, and they're the ones who have financially backed it. They claim that they're using it for the benefit of rehabilitation for inmates, but that's a bunch of bullshit. It's for slave labor that they can't, the free markets can't compete with. And they put several mom and pop businesses out of business, and they're unscrupulous. They have zero ethics, business ethics, and they'll undercut anybody and put them out of work tomorrow as long as they benefit from it. There is no, again, like I said, there's no federal agency or federal department, whether it's a desk or a chair or anything else for that matter, file cabinets. They cannot, that department or agency that's looking for desks and chairs and file cabinets or anything cannot go to a private company and have them bid unless the job is first bid on by Unicor, especially if that's what they do. They do several work for the military, from making uniforms, canteen covers, missile harnesses for the helicopters. They make a great deal of stuff for the military as well.
Wow, I had no idea this was even happening behind the scenes. This is one of those big things you really need to take a deep dive into to understand, because this is modern day slavery.
Yeah, and they get away with it, and it's okay for Unicor to do it. But if you were in the free world and you owned a business and you were trying to compete against it, you might as well fold up, because you can't compete against it. They have so much a longer arm than you do, and they have far greater capacity to compete with you on a much stronger level and annihilate you, for lack of a better term. So it has happened. I know of a company out of Georgia that sued a prison down there because this was in the late 90s, when there was all kind of hoopla about businesses throughout the United States that were hiring, aliens, people from out of the country that, didn't have a social security card, or they were illegals or whatever, and they were allowing them to these mom and pop companies, they're allowing the illegal aliens to come and work for them, and they were paying them probably something along the lines of slave labor wages, although not as little as the amount that the federal government was paying the inmates. So they enacted a law that if immigration decided to hit your business, let's say you were making desks and chairs, and immigration caught wind that you had a bunch of illegal aliens working there, and they decided to raid your business, and they found all these illegals working there, then according to the way the law was written, I believe, it says that they had the right to seize your business, seize the aliens, and you would be fined per person for hiring an illegal alien to work for them. So, and this is where the waters get real murky. So, keeping in mind with everything that I just said, this company down in Georgia was competing with one of the Bureau of Prisons for contracts, and what they did to them was they went after them and they shut their doors down because this mom and pop company couldn't compete anymore. So now, but their cry in their suit was, "Oh, but you're supporting this because you pay slave labor wages as well, and you hire illegal aliens. But so it's okay for you people to do it and not for us. So it's do as we say, but don't do as I do." So what they did was, they said, "Oh yeah, that's right." What they did one day, currently at the prison that I was at, they called all the illegals in, which were, Colombians, Dominicans, um, Mexicans, anybody from Central and South America that were working in Unicor. At that moment, right then and there, they were handing them Social Security cards, even though they were illegal, and getting deported when they were done with their sentence. Here's your Social Security card, making you legal. So that's the way they circumvented their own laws. So imagine if a private company did exactly that. What would happen to them? The wrath of God would rain upon them, and the wrath of God being the federal government. So go figure how they're capable of breaking the law, but the average industry isn't. How they're capable of bending laws to work for them, but you can't. Really interesting how they can get away with a whole lot of things, violate your rights up one side and down the other, of which they can do anything they want, and there's a federal agents who will tell you right to your face, "We can fuck you all day long, and you can cry as much as you want. We have the right to fuck you as much as we want and get away with it, and we hope you don't like it." And that's their adage, and that's what they live by, and it's exactly how they do their job.
Wow. Well, you're really exposing a massive rabbit hole here. We're gonna have to definitely take a deeper dive at a later time in another episode. Let's go and get back to your day-to-day routine. I really want to get back to after you're done with your actual job for the day and actually your duties, what you're going to do. So after you're done with whatever it is that you're assigned to for the day, what was your actual job during that time when you first started getting you got
Orderly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after you're done with that, what happens throughout your day? And what time is that?
Like depending, like if it was 10:30 in the morning, which there would be yard recall for lunch because lunch was from 11 till 12. Then you would come in, off the yard. Then again, depending on where you were at and what part of the year it was. Like I was in Florida, so it was either, like during the summer was exceptionally hot, and then during what we would term as winter in the north or in the Midwest, then it would be just hot. Because I can remember Christmas and New Year's down in Florida that it was 85 degrees on both days. So I mean, it goes from super hot to just hot. So you would come in 10:30, get ready to go out to lunch. And again, it was depending on what they were feeding you for lunch that day. Back then, it was every prison had the right then to feed you whatever they want based off their budget and based off how they were feeding their menus to their people. There was no oversight from the headquarters on how they were doing it. Just go ahead and do it.
Really?
As long as everybody was getting served three meals a day.
So even though this is a federal prison, there's no federal guidelines being placed. It's all up to each facility to come up with it on their own.
Oh, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. It's every prison has their own way of doing things and their own laws that they want to live by. Not necessarily laws that are applicable to what the gold standard is or to be followed. They have their own set of standards that they go by. And that again is also depending on the particular warden at every facility. You have some wardens that are super cool and they're good people and they understand that you have a family. They understand the meaning of particular closeness and they want to see you thrive. They have your best intention at hand as much as they can be follow through on your best intention. However, again, we're crossing into a gray area of which, at the end of the day, they really don't give a shit. So most of the guys who had that mindset were wardens who were getting ready to retire, but all the new cowboys that were coming into the system, their mindset was not so much in that direction. It was how can we tighten things up and make things worse for them. Being in federal prison is not a physical battle by any stretch of the imagination like in the state system, because I understand in the state, the guards at any given moment, for any given reason, will go into your cell and beat the fuck out of you for any reason they want. The feds, they don't do that. They mind fuck you. It's all psychological warfare with the feds, and their job is to break you down any way that they can, to demoralize you, dehumanize you, to rob you of who you are, and to hollow you out, and to make sure that you understand that you are a piece of shit. You mean nothing. You mean nothing to them. And the faster you're gone and dead, it's that much better. Because they would rather just get you out of the way and move forward than have to deal with your bullshit. And it's just the way it is with them. So you go to, and again, I digress, but we'll go back. So you go to lunch, you come back from lunch, and as an orderly, you go around to your assigned area, make sure it's still clean, it's all sparkly, and all this other crap. And then you go back out to the yard, like, depending on who the correctional officer was that was working your unit that day. If they were cool, they let you go to the yard at 1:30. If they weren't cool, then they make you stay to 2:30. In which case, the yard recall was 3:30, where you have to go back to the unit for a 4 o'clock count, which is a mandatory count nationwide. That they have to phone into a central office, and then you have a few mandatory counts during the day, and then that's one of them. Then you have either a 9:30 or 10 o'clock count, depending again which prison you're at. And these are what's known as stand-up counts. There's on the weekend you have a 9:30 p.m. stand-up count, and then you'll have another one at 4, and then another one at 10 o'clock p.m. So those are all mandatories.
That's one part of your routine that never changes. Every day it's the same counts every single time.
Yeah. You just that you can set your clock to those. That is a must. And no bullshit. If you get caught sleeping during that count, or you get caught sitting on your bed, you're at your little micro desk. There's a little desk that has a swing seat on it that is made out of pure metal and is screwed to the wall to the floor. And you're lucky if you can fit one arm on it to write anything. And if you get caught doing any of that, not standing up, they will put you in what they call segregation, which is AKA the hole, where you're going to sit there and think about what you did. And then when they deem it necessary or whatever, then they'll cut you loose and put you right back on there, out on the yard. But until then, you're going to do segregation time.
All right, that was today's episode of the True Cost of Freedom podcast. I want to thank Ralph for sharing his powerful story with us, the raw truth, challenges, and reminding us that freedom isn't something to take for granted. If you found this conversation powerful, interesting, or helpful, please like and share with someone who could use a reminder of what resilience and redemption looks like. Please subscribe to the show so you don't miss our next story. Until next time, remember, freedom is never free. This is the True Cost of Freedom podcast.